All right, guys, how's it going? Before I get into this video, I just want to let you know I'll be hosting a live stream on here tonight. It'll be about 7 UK, I think it is. I can't remember what time I scheduled it for, but if you click on my channel username, it'll tell you what time, okay? Is Arne Slot facing the sack? These numpties, Anfield Watch. Liverpool ready to sack Arne Slot this week. They've made a headline, like a very matter-of-fact statement. But it's actually the article. I haven't read it all. I don't need to because I know it's bullshit because of the outlet. But what I can tell you is that if you were to scroll down, this is the bit I got this far down because I wanted to see who was making the claim. And it says, according to a report from Spanish outlet Featureheads, Liverpool have taken the decision to sack Slot and the Dutchman will not continue in his position beyond the end of the week. Right now, I'm in Spain. I know about all these outlets here. Featureheads is like Football Insider, right? Or like these, yeah. Just hedging, making guesses, and etc. like that. You wouldn't listen to anything that Featureheads said. But that's not the reason that I'm making this video. It just so happens that I said earlier today I'm going to make a video about Slot's future, and I've just done an exclusive review. Reviewed one of their so-called exclusives, and I saw that headline on there. I was like, oh, what the fuck's that, right? So, people messaging me. I'm making this video not because of this news article. I think that if we lose to Arsenal, or we get a really bad result at Arsenal, and exit the FA Cup, I think that could be it. I think it's very close to losing his job, but it is of course dependable on results. Go and beat Arsenal, proceed in the FA Cup, buys you more time, right? Surely. There are suggestions that there was, let's say, an internal meeting or a meeting yesterday to do with the situation at the club. I spoke about it today in my mail stand channel members video, and that meeting was originally scheduled for today, Tuesday afternoon, and was brought forward to yesterday. Ties in with the way you think that you would imagine the things that the club would be doing during this period of a little bit of uncertainty, right? Now, when Liverpool, turned the corner recently, if you want to believe that shit, I don't believe it for 1 minute, but when we saw some, people would say better results recently, I still maintain that his job wasn't safe. I haven't flip-flopped at all. I think he's in trouble. I don't think he'll be the manager next year unless something dramatically changes, like he wins the European Cup or something, which is just not going to happen. I can't imagine that happening. I feel like the players have given up. I'm told that there is... that it's just not a very nice place to be around the club at the moment. Like that there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of puzzle, a lot of frustration, let's call it that, right? Now, I recorded a video yesterday, a mail stand video, and alluded to this meeting that I was told not to go too deep into it. After I did that, some of the things I said were amplified, exaggerated, and sensationalized by other people to the point of now Slot's going to lose his job this week. This has now appeared in Featureheads, apparently. People jumping to conclusions, if you like. But let's forget them. Let's forget the other YouTubers that watch my videos and then go and, exaggerate and stuff. Let's look at what I think's happening. Okay, so I'm going to forget anything that's been sent to me in emails, anything that I'm aware of online, and I'm just going to give you my opinion as to what I think is going on. So, things are clearly not good enough. The players are not responding to Arne Slot. A lot of money spent. We have great players in that squad, but they are not playing for him. As I've told you for months, when I look at Liverpool, I don't see a team. I see 11 players. I don't really see a captain, to be honest with you. I don't see any leadership on the pitch. And I mentioned this on a stream last night. I've mentioned it before. I was speaking to Steve McMahon years ago when Jordan Henderson was made captain of Liverpool, and I said, I'm not convinced. He's not much of a captain. And Steve McMahon's, and other Liverpool legends that were with him at the time, there was 2 or 3, all said, don't worry, because in a team you have, more than one captain. And what he said was, Steve McMahon said, when I played for Liverpool, Duncan, it wasn't just the person that had the armband on. We had 6 or 7 captains in the team. Fucking, you know what I mean? And he said some people will never be captains, and maybe that's like a flair player or something, but they had 6 or 7, they had a unit. They didn't need the armband on them to say, I'm the captain. They were all on the same fucking page. Do you see that in the Liverpool side today? I don't. Now, considering Virgil van Dijk is built like a brick shithouse, he doesn't seem... I don't see enough from him. I've seen it, but I don't see enough. When you look at Slot, he's there with his hands in his pockets. I'd be losing my shit. I'd be raging me at some things, Anyway, so I think that it's common sense that things are not working, right? And I would keep an eye on the Alonso situation at Real Madrid. And again, I've said this probably for about 5 weeks, maybe. They've got, 3, 4, 5 weeks. I can't remember Christmas. But I've been saying for a while that Real Madrid have got an important Super Cup game this Thursday, right, against Atletico Madrid. They won convincingly in the last game, heavy scoreline. But the cup game, I think, if he loses that, he'll be under immense pressure. I don't think Alonso is going to be there, is what I'm trying to say here. But again, it's results-based, isn't it? So if Slot does fuck up at Arsenal and does lose in the FA Cup, he could lose his job. But if he does well, he stays, right? He buys more time, and I think that would be the case with Alonso. But I want you to keep an eye on that Real Madrid game on Thursday, on that result. And I will, of course, review it on Friday, what the papers have said. I think it's common sense that during, these bad games or whatever, I know we've had that little turn recently, but I think it's common sense that if you are a club executive involved in the hiring and firing, that you have to speak to each other and say, what we're going to do if. So because of that, they have to be thinking about if we need to pull the trigger. The other thing as well is, there's been times when some people thought Slot might get sacked already, and I said, I don't think so, because that would be Hughes and Edwards admitting we fucked up. So they must be desperately hoping that they don't need to do it, because otherwise it's going to be, well, yeah, it was our, And you think a journalist that absolutely licked the arse of Richard Hughes, and I can think of 2 in particular from the Liverpool clique, saying how much of a genius he was that he brought Slot. It makes everyone look fucking ridiculous. So obviously they'll be hoping, we don't want to do it yet, man, unless we're absolutely fucking got to do it. And in fairness, traditionally over the years, Liverpool will give the manager as long as possible. But the situation, you've got Manchester United now looking for a new manager. Chelsea just got a new manager. These teams, with an injection of new ideas could become stronger. That could go against us. What might have gone for Slot is United sacking the manager, because now that would be Liverpool and Man United maybe competing for the same person. Reminds me a bit of when Liverpool were put up for sale, and then at the exact same time Manchester United were. I always wondered what would have happened if Man United hadn't been put up for sale. So it's a bit like that. All these things are affecting. What I'm trying to say in this video is, if the results don't go well, I think he could be, sacked within a week, to be honest with you. Because I don't think it's just the results. I think it's the terrible play. And Liverpool have spent a lot of money on players who it's just not working. And I think that's because he's not getting the best out of them. Now, I'll say it again in case you've missed it. In the summer, when he was recruited, a journalist in his homeland said he's a nice man, he deserves the chance. Surprised he got the Liverpool job. And the one concern that journalist had that said might be a problem for Arne Slot was he never had the experience of managing players of that value, that high market value. Not necessarily players with ego, but massive names, right? So if you're used to signing 10 million, 15 small, I don't know. I have no idea what happens in that Farmers League, right? But if you sign a player 100 million plus and he's not performing, what happens? The media are all over it. The intensity, the scrutiny, that's all pressure. And I think that journalist was right. I do apologise. I've got a bad chest thing going on. Day 2 of my antibiotics. So it could be a very interesting week. It could be a very interesting week. But the Man United, I don't know, the Man United thing could affect things too. I don't know. I'm just throwing my opinions out there. Collectively, if you drop an opinion, maybe we'll come to the right answers. If you're seeing people saying Slot's going to be fired this week, well, I think there's 2 reasons for that. One, I think something that I said yesterday was exaggerated and people were misled. And I think because of shit like this behind, if he is sacked this week, or if he's sacked within a week, it'll be nothing to do with that. Those people weren't right. It'll be to do with common sense, which will be results, therefore Arsenal and the FA Cup game. Anyway, I'm going to leave it with you. I don't know if I'm explaining myself very well. Keep an eye on the Real Madrid situation. I would also listen out for anything to do with Steven Gerrard, Gary McAllister. At the moment, there's nothing really out there along those lines. But if they had to pull the trigger now, and they didn't want to appoint someone permanently now because they're not in a position to do so, then there would be, or could be, an interim manager. And I think some fans would be against the idea of Steven Gerrard. Oh, he hasn't done this, he hasn't done that. Or I don't want him to ruin his legacy. But if he was a interim manager and he didn't do too well and had to leave in the summer or something, that wouldn't ruin his legacy. They'd say, well, he came in and took over from a fucking struggling team. So he did his bit, he served the club fucking top draw. If he did come in as an interim manager and did well, then he might get the job. There's different, suggestions. You've got to think of people like Alonso coming in with Gerrard as his assistant, barking at the fucking, the touchline like Phil Thompson used to do with Houllier, you know what I mean? Alonso, Gerrard, would you go for that? It could very, very possibly happen. Gary McAllister, I've received things to do with Gary McAllister rejecting employment opportunities. And you've got to remember that Gary McAllister, could go somewhere with Steven Gerrard. So why is he rejecting things? Is he leaving the door open for stuff? These are all things that I discuss in my mail stand videos. To be honest, I did a big mail stand video today. I can't remember what was fucking in it, to be honest with you. It was to do with this, parent meeting stuff, which I hope I've mentioned in this video. So anyway, I'm sorry if I'm not making much sense. I'm quite tired. I'm not well. But I'm trying to battle on to try and get as much content out to you today as possible. I'm going to go and just take a break for a little bit, but I will have a live stream on here tonight at 7:30. So please come along. You and ask as many questions as you want. I won't bullshit you. You can often tell from my little smirks and grins. If I think something but shouldn't say something. ITK in the know. I'm not a Twitter twat. I don't know what's going on, guys. I don't want you to ever think that I'm one of these people. These people that have got sources and all that. Listen, I prefer to just say I've got friends, and I think when people say I've got sources or my contacts say, I always think it makes them sound about 15, 14, 13 years of age, you know what I mean? So, knowledge is power, there's no doubt about that. But a lot of it, I think, 9 times out of 10, you can guess what's going on. Because most of the time, it's not fucking difficult. And that's why these ITKs look like they know what they're talking about. And they churn out so many guesses that the ones that don't get right are forgotten, you know? So be careful of that. My advice is as follows. I'm going to end my video on this. My message is to say to you, apparently there's been some discussions within the club which was scheduled today but took place yesterday. That's one thing. That's one thing I want to get across in this video. The other is keep an eye on Real Madrid's result on Thursday. The other thing is definitely do not rule out Steven Gerrard, whether you're for that idea or against that idea. I've heard it from multiple people now, multiple sources and contacts of mine. And when more than one person says it, 2, 3 people say it that are not connected to each other, you have to listen. And let's see what happens at Arsenal in the FA Cup. If he gets a good result at Arsenal and maybe all right with the FA Cup, then maybe he'll be all right for a little bit longer. But I still think he's toast, guys. I do think there's going to be a change. I think the club would rather do these things like in the summer, hope that he can turn things round, you know, European qualification, do well in the European Cups, things like this. But do you really think that's going to happen? That's the thing. It's a guessing game because none of us know. None of us know how we're going to do. We could go and batter Arsenal or we could get turned over and humiliated. And you can imagine what our fan base is going to be like then. And then if we went and played an FA Cup game and fuck me, imagine if that went tits up. Yeah? I hope I've made sense. I'll leave it with you. So there's a few points there I just want you to remember and to consider over the next week. All right, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please thumbs up the video. Please drop me a comment. Collectively, we exchange a lot of ideas and we often get it right. There's a love out under the video if you want to support my channel. Thank you. And there's links in the video description if you want to get me a beer or a coffee. Revolut's my preferred one. That's my beer kitty for Saturdays. You should know that by now. But it doesn't cost you anything to give me a thumbs up or a comment. All right, guys. Have I got another mail stand for you? I can't remember. Was there a mail stand? I hope not, because I'm quite tired. Oh, there is one actually. Yes. I got one for you. It's to do with FSG. I'll do that now and then that's a wrap for me and I'll see you on the live stream tonight. Okay, guys. Take it easy. Peace.